Ciao. I guess I should go.
Thanks for stopping by.
Okay, I'll stay.
Necessary.
What I thought was crazy when they added the $700 wheels to the iPad. Yeah, that was a bit much even for me.
Wild.
Yeah, Adam Christianson is here with us, everybody. Adam Christianson, he of the MacCast, and of course at MacCast, MACCAST, at MacCast on Twitter. Let's just do fun fantasy stuff here because that's fun to me. That's why I call it fun fantasy stuff. I'd like to see Apple blank. Now, years and years ago, I want to say before Steve Jobs even got sick, I wanted Apple to buy EMI because there was constantly talk that EMI was on the table, up for sale. I can't remember who ended up buying them. Maybe Sony. I'm not sure, because there used to be 4 music labels and now there are 3 because somebody absorbed EMI. And I wanted Apple to buy EMI. And then when Apple settled its deal with Apple Core and, Apple was allowed to do stuff in music, then I definitely wanted Apple to buy EMI. And Apple didn't buy EMI, and that was fine. When when AT&T was my carrier, and I hated AT&T, I wanted Apple to become a mobile virtual network operator, MVNO. And I could see a lot of reasons that Apple wouldn't want to do that because they would then have to field calls. Well, back then you could call your carrier 24 hours a day. Now it seems like big business is like, we've got all the money we need, so we're not going to provide 24/7 customer service anymore. We'll do Monday through Friday business hours on the West Coast, and everybody else can bugger off. I wanted Apple to be an MVNO just because I hated dealing with the carriers that were out there. And obviously Apple didn't do that. Personally, I have a thing that I would like to see Apple get into now, but I'm wondering, are there things that you have wished in the past that Apple would get into? And I guess really more interestingly, is there something now that you say, man, I wish Apple would do something there?
Oh man, you've got me on this one.
Really?
Yeah, I've never been very good at sort of thinking about what the next thing Apple would disrupt is.
Oh, I don't care what you actually think they're going to disrupt.
No.
Is there something you'd like for them to?
I'm happy with their products. They're like, I'm sitting here trying to think like, have I ever wished like, I guess there was a point where I had wished they would like buy Netflix and do that whole thing, right? And get into the TV stuff, which they have in kind of a different way than I expected, and now in a way that like I think is better than what I was kind of wishing for. Like I think had they bought Netflix and just jumped in that way, I think it would have been potentially a real mess. Although I guess I tend to take a look at what they did with Beats and turning that into Apple Music, and that's been amazing. Yeah. So, could they do something like that with having sort of access to more content and more resources and sort of spin up Apple TV as a service or Apple TV Plus, as a service more quickly than what they're doing right now? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they could have done that and sort of, leapfrog their way into it. I think with the music thing, they sort of had to do it. I'm feeling like with television, maybe not so much. We're kind of in a weird place with television right now, but like you're throwing that stuff out and I'm trying to think, had I ever wished like, oh yeah, I wish Apple would, go up against SpaceX and get into the space race, or like even this stuff with an Apple car. Mm-hmm. What I keep hoping they're going to do there, and I'm still thinking this is what they're doing, but what I wish they would do is car as a service and not particularly a car. I like this idea of them basically getting into ride sharing in a way where I just, rather than owning a car, I just subscribe to a service. And Apple has a fleet of cars that I just call on a whim with my Apple Watch, and they just show up and I get in and they take me where I need to go, and I get out, and it integrates with all my other Apple products, and I can hop in there and there's my iCloud and I can work on my show notes, and yeah. So I guess that's one thing I wish they would do. I wish they would do car as car as a service or some sort of transportation thing, where I can not have a car payment and just not own a car.
Can I ask you a question really quickly? In that scenario, is there a guy driving that car, or is there a car driving that car?
There is a car driving that car.
Okay, so you're still a few years out then.
I think we're getting close.
Well, I mean, we're getting close, except for, and I'm not trying to poo-poo the idea, because I actually really like the idea. I'm trying to figure out, though, things like, okay, well, now they have to buy a bunch of cars. Either that or make a bunch of cars.
Make a bunch of cars, yeah, absolutely.
And where do you put them and all that stuff? I mean, so you're still.
You'd have to have massive infrastructure. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have them close in regions. You know, it's going to have to be something that's rolled out over like a long period of time. Yeah, like it's not. It's a huge thing, right? It's like a pretty big deal. And it disrupts a bunch of industries who are going to be really pissed off. So. But it's something that Apple doesn't seem to be afraid to do. So I'm kind of thinking that would be cool. That'd be cool if they would do that.
What do I want to see Apple get into? Yeah, we'll be back to that in a moment. But first, a word from Remote HQ, letting you collaborate as if you were in the same room with the people you're collaborating with, obviously. Probably won't surprise you to find that I'm a fairly particular individual. I like things the way I like things. And Remote HQ gets that. I talked yesterday about their customizable workspace, how you lay things out the way you want them. You do need to consider your teammates, though. That's the whole working in the same room thing. Now, here's what's cool. When you all settle on a layout, save it. You can save the way you work and the work itself across recurring meetings. With the flip of a virtual switch, you can automatically carry data from one meeting to the next, so you can pick up right where you left off. All this plus no downloads, no installations. Heck, the people in your meeting don't even need to sign up for anything. They just click on the link that you send, and away you go. Speaking of going, go to remotehq.com/partnerships/minutes for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use the code MINUTES for 3 months free. Give Remote HQ a try. Go to remotehq.com/partnerships/minutes for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use the code MINUTES for 3 months free. Can I tell you which one I would like to see them get into? Which
Absolutely.
Business I would like to see them get into?
Since I really don't have the imagination I think it takes to do this one.
Oh, I don't think this is terribly imaginative, honestly. I want to see them do more in healthcare. And there are little things that I think that they're, doing. I've talked about this before. We had all been drinking. We had all been drinking, and I was out with a couple of people, including this lovely, incredibly vivacious venture capitalist from France, supposedly one of the youngest VCs in France. I don't know how much money she commands, whatever, but she's fantastic. But she was talking about how much she hates Apple because they just sit on all of their money. They're not doing anything. And I disagreed. And what she pointed to, and what reminded me of this, was what you mentioned earlier, was SpaceX. She was pointing to SpaceX and Virgin, whatever their space thing is called, and Blue Origin, of course, the one that Amazon is doing. And she thinks, that they're actually pushing the future, and, that Apple is just hoarding its money. And I actually said, okay, well, Tim Cook goes outside and he looks up in the air and he sees Virgin and he sees, Amazon, and he sees, whomever. And first of all, I apologize. I said, I don't want to argue with you. And she said, no, please argue with me. So then I'm like, okay, great. Then it's Katie bar the door. The thing that I pointed to was healthcare. The fact that, and I talked about a family member who went to the hospital one time, and he was fairly ill fairly frequently. So when he got to the hospital, somebody recognized him and they just pulled his old file, rather than actually looking at the file that he had been sent with, because his meds had changed. So when he got to the hospital, he actually got worse for a while because they screwed up his meds. Because the most current thing they had was a piece of paper that looked so much like another piece of paper, Whereas if everybody was used to when he comes in, he hands them his phone, they scan his information, and there's all of his most current information. Mm-hmm. That kind of thing that Apple is doing is, I think, fantastic. It also feels like it's sort of slow on the uptake. But in the meantime, I know it was a couple of years ago that it was announced that they were running their own clinics for Apple employees at Cupertino, right? Or their own clinic, maybe. I can't remember what it's called now. I want to see the kinds of things that they're able to do with that, the kinds of things that are good enough for Apple to give to their employees or to share with their employees. I would like to see them start to do that in other ways and in bigger ways. Because I had to go to the doctor a couple of months ago, and I called my insurance company, and I was like, so I need to find a doctor, and they did a horrible job of finding me a doctor. I ended up finding my own doctor who was in their network. And I said, so how much is this going to be? And neither my insurer nor my doctor could tell me when they did what they had to do, how much it was going to cost. I just had to trust later. They gave me a rough estimate. I just had to trust that, when I got the bill, it wasn't going to be hugely, hugely more than that. And I was honestly fully prepared to go to war with both my insurance company and with the doctor, because somehow that's the state of things right now. The state of things right now is, well, show up, get help, and hopefully you won't end up bankrupted on the other side because you accidentally went to the wrong place, or it cost more than we thought it was going to, or there was a third party we didn't realize was going to get in on it as well. I would like to see somebody with a clear idea of, right, this sucks and we can fix it, show up and fix it. And I don't know if Apple can do that, but it's the kind of thing I would like to see them set their sights on, because that is the thing that benefits a huge number of people in ways that, yes, the automobile thing that you're talking about could as well. And I'm not saying that, going into space doesn't also do that, but we've got NASA, we've got the various governments around the world that are doing that. Plus we've got Blue Origin, plus we got SpaceX, plus we got Virgin. I'm going to say space for the time being might be covered. I would like for Apple to concentrate on the people down here for a bit. If they're going to throw billions of dollars at disrupting any industry.
Very interesting. I like all those things. Yeah. And you can see the pieces of it, right?
Yeah.
So it feels like something they're already in to a certain degree.
Right.
Like the whole, my healthcare provider lets me link my medical records with the health app. Mm-hmm. And it's the most amazing thing ever. I go in for an appointment, and then, almost instantly, all my data from that appointment is on my phone. All the information, prescriptions that I received, all the tests that they ran, test results. Like, it's really cool.
Now I would trade all of it for virtual reality.